On today's episode of Time About the Movies, we have a Friday the 13th to take a look at. I don't know why I'm starting off with that, because none of these movies are really scary, even the ones that are trying to be somewhat scary, but, hey, it is Friday the 13th of this month of May 2011, and we do have three movies in particular. We got the big comedy hit of the summer, which was Bridesmaids, and by the way, I said that Kate McKinnon was in this movie yesterday. That's obviously not true, and I didn't realize that until after I had edited the video together. And, yeah, it was already too late for me to put, like, a disclaimer on there. So, yeah. Kate McKinnon's not in this particular Paul Fahey movie. Give it about 5 years, and we'll see her in a Paul Fahey movie with Kristen Wiig in it. And also Melissa McCarthy, which will be much more polarized by most people than someone like me who actually kind of enjoyed it. But Bridesmaids! We'll take a look at Bridesmaids. But we'll take a little... Also, look... Ugh. Boat. This is already off to a chaotic start. We also have Paul Bettany reuniting with the same people that made Legion, and someone said, hey, we can make a movie that's even stupider than Legion. Priest in 3D! And also we have Will Ferrell in another one of his more underrated comedies, Everything Must Go. May 13, 2011. I'm already wasting your time. Let's get to it. It's Time About the Movies.
Bridesmaids.
Take it.
What?
Yep, double jointed.
Rated R. In theaters May 13th.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the three films of May 13, 2011, and we begin with the biggest new release of the weekend, which was, of course, Bridesmaids. You have Annie and Lillian, played by Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph, who have been best friends since childhood, so when Lillian gets engaged, she asks Annie to be her maid of honor. She also selects bridesmaids. Helen Harris, played by Rose Byrne, who's the wife of Lillian's fiance's boss, is trying to take over the planning of the wedding and wants to supplant Annie as Lily's best friend. Becca, played by Ellie Kemper from The Office, a newlywed who loves marriage and pits Annie, her unmarried state. Megan, played by Melissa McCarthy, of course, coming on Mike and Molly at the time, like becoming the big thing on that show, even though she had been on Gilmore Girls before that, and also Samantha Who. She's the sister of the groom, who's very aggressive in her pursuit of men and adventure. And Rita, played by Wendy McClendon-Covey, pre-Goldbergs, but after Reno 911, who's married with 3 children and hates her life after being married. While the wedding preparations continue, Annie's life is falling apart. Her business went bankrupt, she's kicked out of her apartment, she has a very obnoxious sex buddy who treats her badly, she sabotages her relationship with a nice guy played by Chris Dowd, and she hates her job at a jewelry store to the point where in one of the film's funniest scenes in the movie, literally calls a teenager a "see you next Tuesday," and it's just the way that she says it. It's so goddamn hilarious, and having worked in retail for the last 20 years, you have those days when you want to get that nasty, and yeah, you hold that in, but trust me, that's a hard thing to do, and I love how this movie just says, fuck it, we're going to do it anyway. But, yeah, she hates her job at a jewelry store, her car is broken, you know, she has this one taillight that she can't get fixed for some particular reason, even her boyfriend, the cop, and it's just like, at one point he's just like, get your fucking taillight fixed already. And Helen's one-upsmanship in wedding preparations is resulting in her feeling very insecure. Can all these problems be solved, or will it ruin the wedding? What do you think is going to happen in a comedy like this? Just saying. But yeah, in this movie, this film did become a big hit at the box office. It was a massive critical success, to the point where it did get nominations for the Oscars the following year. Yeah, a comedy getting Oscar nominations, high up there in the Oscar nominations. Like we're talking about, you know, best original screenplay, and then best supporting actress for I keep saying Megan McCarthy because that's her name in the movie. Melissa McCarthy. And like I said, Melissa McCarthy was on a roll around this time because Mike and Molly had just premiered in what I think is probably Chuck Lorre's best overall show during that peak. I mean, I like The Big Bang Theory and 2.5 Men with Charlie Sheen in it, but Mike and Molly was probably the overall consistent good show throughout the course of its entire run. But, yeah, this was around the time when she was becoming a more bigger deal than most people were expecting, and, you know, this movie kind of elevated her star status to this, and also the next film that she would do with Paul Fahey, with The Heat, even though I didn't like The Heat as much as everybody else did, but we'll save that for 2013. But with this film in particular, I actually have more kind of a mixed and positive reaction to the movie. It's almost reminiscent of something like Talladega Nights, which is a film that I didn't really like all that much. I would say this is better, but not by that much. But there are a lot of positives here. I think there are a lot of good laugh-out-loud moments in the first hour of the movie. I think that the airplane scene in particular is really funny. The 6 main female stars, I think, work off each other really well. And Melissa McCarthy does really break out of this movie, becoming the big thing about it that you remember from it, because a lot of her lines in here are legitimately funny. They are very well put together and very well done by this actress, and you can see why she got the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. I would say that that's more reasonable than the original screenplay nomination, which feels really odd to say the least, but I thought Chris O'Dowd overall was pretty good too, playing the cop and Wig's love interest. Wig and Rudolph, these are two really funny women who work off each other so well. It's no wonder why they're not going to make it. It's no wonder they can make this work as well as it does. John Hamm's really good too. He delivers a lot of good, hilarious lines, playing the douchebag of the movie. But on the negative side, it lacks in the middle as Kristen Wiig's character does hit rock bottom. Like I said, there are a few moments that are great, like especially that moment in the jewelry store with the teenager. It does pick up in the final act, but that lack in the middle, following the airplane scene, did actually leave me kind of bored in the long run. I'm not a fan of the gross-out jokes in the dress scene. It just felt like a scene that started off with something really funny until they just kind of dragged it on and on and on. It was a scene that started, it was funny at first, and then they start showing them puking in the toilet and shitting in the sink and then shitting in the middle of the road, which, okay, admittedly, the road thing was actually kind of funny because it wasn't like you actually see it, but like the other ones, it's literally showing them puking and shitting in the sink, and it's just like, come on, man, jokes like that shouldn't be seen or heard, but just to have the thought of it, it just really kind of bugged me. And there was a lot of scenes like that that really kind of bugged me in this movie, but I did like the film enough to say it's a good movie. It's not a great movie, but it's definitely a more enjoyable movie that I think you could say about another big comedy a big comedy movie that's coming out later in the month of May, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks, but I do like this movie. I don't think it's one of Judd Apatow's best movies with his name attached to it, but it's nowhere near as bad as something like Drobit Taylor, or even the mediocrity of Talladega Nights, but it's nowhere near the stuff like, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, or Superbad, or Knocked Up, or Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's just kind of in the middle. It's just kind of like, parts of it do kind of fall flat, but a majority of it does work. I like the chemistry between the 6 leads. I think the characters overall are very likable. The story works very well to the film's advantage. This is the movie that Bryce Ward's, I think, was trying to be like. I think it was trying to be more like this, and failed miserably at it. And this thing is funny. I don't think it's like a groundbreaker by any means necessary, but I like it. I think it's fun enough on its own merits. So yeah, overall, I do really enjoy the movie. So if you want another movie that's trying to be is a comedy, even though it has no real intentions on doing that, but when you see what happens on screen, it's really hilarious how bad it is. And that is, of course, Priest. And what do you know, folks? Just as I said the previous week that studios were finally starting to realize that maybe post-production conversion 3D can actually be good, here's a movie that says, no, we still want to pretend like we're gonna give you great 3D, but not really. So I get to use this little chestnut again. Welcome to another edition of Post-Production 3D Hell. God, it feels good to get that back in there. But yeah, this movie, this is based off of a Korean comic of the same name, set in an alternate universe where humanity and vampires have warred for centuries. After the last vampire war, what the hell was that? After the last vampire war, I'll tell you what, God darn it. After the last vampire war, I don't know what's going on with me today, but a veteran warrior priest lives in obscurity until his niece, played by Lily Collins, is kidnapped by vampires. So yeah, remember Legion and how it got really stupid with its incredible lazy attempts at supernatural thrills? This one does it again, except we want to throw in a little bit of underworld in there because we're screen gems, because we know how to make great horror movies that you will see the first weekend and then never think about again. Because yeah, it's another one of those movies that literally is one of those films where zero effort was put into it all over the place. It takes itself way too seriously. All these actors in here should know better. You've got Paul Bettany, Carl Urban, Maggie Q, Lily Collins, Christopher Plummer. This is a movie that is just so lazy, lazy in every single shape and form. There is nothing about this movie that is intriguing. The story is terrible. The visuals are awful. The 3D is god awful. Like, this is the definition of what happens when you have terrible post-production 3D conversions, and you've never learned your lesson from what 2010 had to offer you. This is that type of a movie. This movie is unbelievably bad. Not as bad as Legion, surprisingly, but it's still pretty bad. And the fact that they literally put this out there thinking that they were going to trick people to come into this and buy this as a summer blockbuster, and people didn't take the bait. It came, it went. It wasn't the biggest hit at the box office, and yeah, it was largely forgotten almost immediately after it came out. So, yeah, not much more to say about this one, but yeah, take that for what you will. So that is Legion. So let's go ahead and get back to some good stuff. Let's take a look at our last movie, and that is Will Ferrell in Everything Must Go.
Everything Must Go. Rated R. Starts Friday.
Man, if you're getting fired by Dennis of all people, your life is pretty shitty. Like, that guy still has a job, but you don't. Yeah, this is a movie that is one of those Will Ferrell movies that nobody ever talks about. Very few people remember it. Let's be honest. When this movie came out, the only thing that people were really focusing on Will Ferrell with was not this movie, but what he was about to do to Conan on his TBS show.
Will Ferrell, and there's some aspects of the movie we haven't discussed. Would you shut the f*** up? Shave that beard, guys! Bring it out! Let's go!
Which is a great bit, by the way. I can't show the full thing in full, but go watch it. It's really funny. It's the whole thing where, Will Ferrell had made this thing that he was coming on the show on May 2nd to shave off Conan's beard he had as soon as he got back on TBS. And, yeah, he shaved it off, and he went back to the Conan O'Brien that we're used to seeing him as. But sadly, that's what more people remember about this particular movie coming out, was the promotion for this film, rather than the actual movie itself. Which, that bit is funny, but this movie is great, too. I think this is definitely another one of Will Ferrell's underrated gems. He plays a guy who, as I said before, gets fired from his sales job, mostly because of his penchant for alcohol. He comes home and finds that his wife has kicked him out, and all of his stuff is also out of the house as well and onto the front lawn. He's pretty intent on just sitting in his chair drinking beer on the lawn, and his cop friend, Frank Garcia, thinks he should at least pretend to have a yard sale to make it legal. He slowly starts making friends with a neighborhood kid who needs something to do, and a pregnant wife who had just moved in across the street, and Nick finds himself moving on and selling all of his stuff. So it's a very heartfelt movie. This is based off of a story by Raymond Carver called Why Don't You Dance? I had never even heard of this story before, but most people have said that this thing is not on the same level as that, but really it doesn't really matter because the film itself overall does work on its own merits. You don't really need to read the short story to really get the full enjoyment of this film. This is a really solid film with an excellent cast all across the board. Ferrell, I think, is fantastic. Rebecca Hall's really good. Michael Pena, Glenn Howerton, Stephen Root, Laura Dern. Just a lot of good people in this movie, and it is a film that reminds me of these other Will Ferrell movies that nobody really ever talks about, unfortunately, like Winter Passage or Melinda and Melinda. These movies, Stranger Than Fiction. These movies where, Will Ferrell's trying to break out from that big comedy thing that he's more known for with, Talladega Nights and Anchorman. And here's a movie where he's really doing everything he can to do something incredible and stand out on his own merits. And he does an incredible job of making it work. He's fantastic in the movie. This is a very good, lighthearted, warm-hearted comedy. And it does its job very well. Everybody in here plays their parts very well. It has a good message to teach you about the situation that he's in. It's a really good, entertaining film. It's a film that sadly did not get the attention it deserved, but it really deserved a much more enjoyable, a much more appreciative outing, is what I'm trying to say, from most people, because it is a really good movie. It's a very well done film. Sadly, it does not get talked about much, but it is a film that I do say, go see this, because it shows how good Will Ferrell can be as a leading actor in a movie that's not a big budget, big spectacle comedy where he's going gonzo crazy. He's playing a straightforward performance in here, and it just works very well to a T. It just is such a very good performance overall. I like it a lot. I really do enjoy this movie a lot. I highly recommend you go out and check out Everything Must Go. Definitely worth the watch, easily. And thus, with all that said, that's going to wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies. And the next time we meet, we only have 2 movies to look at. 2 notable movies, including the biggest one of being Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, with Johnny Depp back as Jack Sparrow, and essentially making him the main focus of the movie. You don't see Orlando Bloom or Keira Knightley. Johnny Depp is usually the best part of these movies, so with him and also Rob Marshall directing, this has got to be a really good movie, right? Right? It's complicated. We'll talk about it on the next episode. But I know we're going to talk a lot about our last movie here, Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris, which not only is it one of my favorite movies of all time, but it is my favorite Woody Allen film of all time. And I'm going to enjoy talking about that one on the next episode, which should be coming up tomorrow. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But until then, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and also don't forget to check out the last episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.